Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Poppy Playtime theory video. And today, as you can more than likely tell from the title of today's theory video, we're going to be talking about the hidden employee photos in Poppy Playtime Chapter 1. But before we go any further, I would like to reiterate the fact that this video is going to contain spoilers for Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 and maybe even Chapter 2, so proceed at your own risk. But I imagine most of us have already played it by now and or have already watched someone else play the game and are ready to be spoiled. But with that being said, that's your spoiler warning. Let's press on. And a quick reminder, if you're loving the Poppy Playtime content, make sure you hit subscribe. It really helps the channel a lot and it keeps the Poppy Playtime content coming. Anyway, with the shameless self-promotion out the way, let's get into the video. So what am I even talking about when it comes to the employee photos? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you recall a video I made a few days ago where we looked at Chapter 1, but we looked out of bounds. We noticed a few things in that video. Some were very interesting to say the least, and some was just outright confusing. And in that out of bounds video, we took a sneaky look at the first lobby that we see when we start up Poppy Playtime. And what we saw was very, very interesting. And I think something that is going to play a massive role in the community and the theories that are going to be generated from this. But anyway, what did we see in that video? Well, in the first lobby in Chapter 1, we noticed that under the floor there are a set of photo frames that have scribbled writing all over the faces of everyone in those portraits. And it's very hard to make out as the lighting didn't help either. So it was safe to say we knew about the paintings and the photos, but that's all we could do because we couldn't see anything further. But I found a way, and thus leads us into today's theory video. As we all know, recently I did another video about Huggy Wuggy, and if anything was living inside of Huggy Wuggy, as we could see something in his eyes, or another set of eyes. And in this video I explained about how I dove into the game files to seek out the texture for Huggy Wuggy, to make a more in-depth look at the textures of Huggy Wuggy's eyes, to then clarify the fact that there were no eyes within the eyes. Well, my exploring didn't stop there. While I was researching for that Huggy Wuggy video, I wanted to see if I could get a better look at the images that we saw under the floor in the lobby. And because they have a place in the game world, they are definitely going to be contained in the game files, so it was just a matter of time before I actually found them. And lo and behold, after a silly amount of time of digging, I found the file. The file is found in Materials Employee Pictures _MAT material. And it has a few instances, and I believe this is because it's used more than once in the scene, and as each object gets used in the scene, it lists it as a separate object or asset in the game world hierarchy. So let's talk more about the actual texture now in the file. So in the image we see 9 portraits of people that have scribbled writing over them with some type of colour crayon. We could theorise that these employees are the reason the messages are left behind, and the colours of those messages match with the portraits of the person. But I know what you're thinking. Slow down, Jord. Are you just getting ahead of yourself a bit here, mate? What if it's just the people who voice the characters or the development team? And to that I say, you're entirely right. I must be going overboard here. But I did look into the actors and the team that developed Poppy Playtime. And while there's not a lot of reliable sources on the development team and how they appear, because there wasn't really any website I could go to or any sort of documentation of the crew apart from the credits, but again couldn't see any sort of link between it. And then I began to think about the voice actors, because surely enough, voice actors have to have a portfolio online. They have to be somewhere. I am going to have to see their faces somewhere. They're going to have to get easy access to see them as well. And again, they had it, and not one of them matched the images that we see in the files. So now we have some evidence that these portraits could be actual staff, actors that worked in Poppy Playtime's factory. Why are they hidden? Well, I theorise that they are hidden because at the moment they might reveal too much of the story. On the other hand, it could just be content they forgot to cut, and it came with the released version of the game. And I know what you're thinking. Wouldn't it just be easier to delete them rather than leave them in the game? You know, save some memory space and, less hassle. And you're right, it would. It would be so much easier just to go in and delete the 9 portraits. So why? Why are they still there? Are they accessible through the game? Is there a way to trigger them? Is there a way that you can interact with somewhere in the world and they pop up from the floor? Because they do have a prominent place. I mean, right at the front of the lobby. That's where you would show off the team that helped you build this incredible creation or product. But with that being said, I do think the pieces of the puzzle fit too well. I do wonder that each of these portraits are linked to each of the characters that we hear about in Chapter 1, and even some characters we haven't met yet, and that are likely we're to meet in Chapter 2. Like I said earlier, I find it a little hard to believe that the little detail of the portraits and how they've been scribbled out by a specific colour are too much of a coincidence. As we know, all of these colours are used in the portraits are seen throughout the vents and the messages that are the warnings, and who else would know better about the state of the factory and its downfall than the employees working there? Or should I say the employees and sacrifices that were put into these toys. This could heavily explain the messages that are sent in the vents and what the context is given through those messages. For example, the message saying, "I'm so hungry" and "starving." Did the employees take shelters in these vents when everything in this factory went south and they were hiding from the toys or Poppy or the scientists? Is this why the vents are so damaged and modified for someone to get around quickly? Or perhaps even have proof of its history, of the trauma that's been experienced in those vents before? And again, this could explain why some areas are damaged. Perhaps the employees didn't do it out of desperation, but they did it out of survival. To conclude, I think these employee photos are important to the crafting of theories that we're going to be doing in the future, because I think these heavily represent each of the characters that we will see throughout the game. I think we could even match them up to characters now, but that is for a different video, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to see that video, make sure you hit like on this video and make sure you hit subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, I would like to know what you think about this theory in the comments below. I want to hear your thoughts about the hidden employees photos. But with that being said, I wish you the best morning, day or night wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next Poppy Playtime theory video. Bye.